So in the last class, I was doing some theorem related to solutions to binomial equation. So this was one of the most important theorems that we have done till now. Is that uh, if D is the GCD of m comma n, then the common roots of these two equation are the roots of this equation. Okay, and conversely, all the roots of this equation are the common roots of this and this. So proof I had left as an exercise, that is your task to do. Secondly, if the GCD is 1, that means if m and n are relatively prime, then they do not have any common root except 1. So keep that in mind, because all these things I'll be requiring for proving the next theorem. And lastly, one more theorem that we have done: if alpha is any root of this equation, any power of alpha is also a root of this equation. So this also was the theorem, or the first theorem that we had done. So now let's move on to new theorem. So the new theorem is this. So if n be a prime, so this is very important, n must be prime. N must be prime. So if n be a prime and alpha is an imaginary root of x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0, then 1 alpha squared alpha to the power n minus 1 is a complete list of the roots of the equation this. So this will be very much essential while doing the sums. So remember what this theorem says. If this power is a prime number, so this is very much required. If n is not prime, then the theorem may not hold. We'll see a counter example later on. So if n is a prime number and alpha is an imaginary root of this equation. So if n is a prime number, what you do? You take any imaginary root of this equation. You take any imaginary root of this equation. Suppose that the imaginary root I am taking is alpha. You cannot take 1 because 1 is not imaginary. So you suppose you take any imaginary root, you are able to find one root of this equation which is imaginary. Then the advantage is that with the help of that imaginary root, you can find all the roots. So these are the complete roots of this equation. These are the complete list of this equation. Okay. So how to prove it? The idea is very simple. You see, if alpha is a root, then any power of alpha is also a root of this equation. This we have done in theorem number 1. So because alpha is a root, 1 is definitely a root, alpha squared alpha to the power n minus 1, all are the roots of this equation, right? So definitely this all satisfies, so they all are the roots. Secondly, the only thing that is remaining to prove is none of them are equal. That means I will prove that all of them are distinct. If I can prove that all of them are distinct, there are n in number and degree is n, that means this is the only possible roots. So my only task is to prove that these are distinct, because each of them are roots I know, but to show that this is the complete list of the roots, that means I'll prove that they all are distinct. So proof goes like this. The proof goes like this. What is the proof? We prove that node 2 of 1 alpha square dot alpha to the power n minus 1 are equal. So we prove that none of them are equal. We prove that none of them are equal. So how to do it? Suppose, if possible, we use the method of contradiction. If possible, let alpha to the power p be same as alpha to the power q. So I am assuming that suppose one of them is same as another one. Suppose alpha 2 is same as alpha to the power n minus 2, anyone, okay, any two. So I am assuming that this happens where what I am assuming 0 lesser equals to q less than p lesser less than equals to n minus 1. So what I am assuming, so when p or when q is 0, this will become 1. So that will cover this case. So p and q can be any one of them. Okay, so this is the reason I have written here. So I am assuming that suppose this one is same as some different one, and let's see what will that happen. So then what can I say? If I divide by alpha to the power p both sides, what I will get? Alpha to the power q minus p equals to 1. Okay, alpha to the power q minus p equals to 1. Now you carefully understand my point. This shows that alpha is a root of x to the power q minus p minus 1 equals to 0. Right? Because from here what can I write? Alpha to the power q minus p minus 1 equals to 0. And this proves that alpha is the root of this equation. Alpha is a root of this equation. Am I clear? Now, alpha is a root of this equation and alpha is also a root of this equation. So try to understand my point. So therefore, the equations x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0 and x to the power q minus p equals to minus 1 equals to 0 have a common imaginary root alpha. That means, so try to understand my point. I'm assuming that they two are equal. If these two are equal, I can write alpha to the power q minus p is 1. So alpha to the power q minus p minus 1 equals to 0. So this shows that alpha is a root of this equation. So try to understand my point. Alpha is a root of this equation and alpha is already a root of this equation. That means alpha is a common root of these two equations. Alpha is a common root of these two equations and alpha is imaginary. Keep that in mind. So try to understand up to here. I'll use the fact that n is prime. So this fact will be used now. Okay, n is prime will be used now. So since n is a prime and q minus p is less than n. That is very much clear from here. If I do q minus p, this will be less than equal to n minus 1, which is less than n. So since n is a prime and this number is less than n, so therefore p minus q and n are relatively prime. You know, any number less than a prime number is relatively prime to that number. You take 5, so any number less than 5 is relatively prime to 5. So because, sorry, this will be q minus p. So sorry, this is q minus p. So this is a number less than n and n is a prime. So this number must be relatively prime to n. So or q and n are relatively prime because you choose any prime number, you choose 7. And look at the numbers which are less than 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of them are relatively prime to 7. So since n is a prime and this is less than n, this and this are relatively prime, and hence we have done this theorem, and hence this equation and this equation have no common roots except one. Have no common root except one. But which is a contradiction. See, they have a common root, common imaginary root alpha. So this is a contradiction. This is a contradiction, right? You might write this is a contradiction. So hence all of them are distinct because this contradiction happened due to this assumption. Therefore all of them are distinct. If you want to ask anything, feel free to ask. The proof is almost done. So therefore 1 alpha square dot alpha to the power n minus 1 are all distinct. So that I have proved. Now each one of them is a root. I already explained why, because if alpha, we have done in theorem 1. So by theorem 1, if you take any root of the equation x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0, any power of that root is again a root. So because alpha is a root of that equation, so any power of alpha is again a root. Since each of them are the roots of, so this justification I have not tried, each of them are the roots of this equation and they are n in number. So how many roots are there? N in number. You see, I have got n distinct roots and the degree of the equation is n. That means there cannot be more than n other than this root. So each of them are the roots of this equation and they are n in number. Therefore 1 alpha square dot alpha to the power n minus 1 is a complete list of the roots of x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0. So this completes the proof of the theorem. So this is very important, which will require during the sums. So for the binomial equation x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0, if n is a prime number, if you know any imaginary root of that equation, then you can write down all the roots like this. So this will be essential while doing the sums. We'll see how a bit later. Now remember, the theorem is not true. So note, the theorem is not true if n is a composite number. That means if n is a composite number, if you choose an imaginary root alpha, the powers of alpha may not give you the complete list of that equation. It may give you, it may not give you. So we can see some examples. For example, consider this equation. X to the power 8 minus 1 equals to 0. So for this equation, this 8 is not a prime number, it's a composite number. Choose one imaginary root. So you know what are the roots of this equation? Cos of, what was the formula for finding the roots? Cos 2k pi by n plus I sin 2k pi by n. So consider this root. So cos of 2, k you choose as 2, okay, k you choose as 2, yeah. So 2k pi by n plus I sine 2k pi by n, and here is 8. So this is a root of, or this is a imaginary root of x to the power 8 minus 1 equals to 0. So that I know that this will be an imaginary root of this equation, because you know that the complete list is given by 1 and cos 2k pi by n plus I sin 2k pi by n, where k is from 0 up to how much? 0, sorry, yeah, 0 up to n minus 1, right? Let's see, that is, what is this? This is 4. So this is 2 and this is 2. What is cos pi by 2? Cos pi by 2 is 0 and sin pi by 2 is 1. So I am remaining with 1. That means I is a imaginary root of x to the power 8 minus 1 equals to 0. But what are the powers of I? So start with the 0 power, that is 1, I to the power 1, I to the power 2, I to the power 3, I to the power 4, I to the power 5, I to the power 6, I to the power 7. You know, this is same as 1, this is same as I, this is same as I square, this is same as I cube. So you know that this is not a complete list. I am taking the powers of I, but I know that, but this is not a complete list of roots of x to the power 8 minus 1 equals to 0. You know that these 4 are the roots, but there are many other roots, okay, other than this 3. But it says that if you are taking the powers of I am getting the same thing. I know that for a binomial equation, no root is repeated. All the roots are distinct. So I know that writing one makes no sense. All the roots are distinct here, right? So this cannot be a complete list of the roots of the equation. So remember, the theorem is only true if the power is a prime number. Understood my point? Okay. However, if you had started with some another root, suppose I would have taken a 3, okay, then 2 3s are 6. If I had taken a 6, then we'll see that suppose I'm calling that root as beta. That means instead of taking 2 here, the value of k, I'll take a 3. If I call that root as beta, then we'll see that all the powers of beta gives a complete list of this equation. So there are some imaginary root that will give you a complete list of roots, right? And there are some imaginary roots which will not give you a complete list of roots. So the one that gives us the complete list of roots is called as a special root. So we'll talk about special roots in the next class. So this is not a special root because it is not giving us the list, a complete list of roots. But if I would have started with some root beta, and suppose beta is here 3, here 3, then we'll see that the powers of beta gives a complete list of this equation. So beta is called a special root. We'll talk about special roots a bit later. Okay. So here is the first question. What is the question? If alpha be an imaginary root of this equation, where n is a prime number, prove that 1 minus alpha square dot 1 minus alpha to the power n minus 1 is nothing but n. So the proof goes like this. Now the solution goes like this. You see, I can use a theorem. If alpha is an imaginary root of this equation where n is a prime number, so what I know from the last theorem, this is the reason they have given you n is a prime number. That means if alpha, you take any imaginary root of this, then all the complete list of this equation is given by the powers of alpha. So that I will use. That I am using a theorem number 4. Since n is a prime number, if n is a prime and alpha is a imaginary root of x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0. So what I know, therefore all the roots of x to the power n minus 1 equals to 0 are, what I know, all the roots are 1 alpha square alpha to the power n minus 1. You see, this is why this theorem was important. You can find all the roots if one of the imaginary roots is known, provided n is prime. And that is the reason they have given prime in the question. So, because n is a prime number and alpha is an imaginary root, by the theorem what I know all the roots of this equation as this. Now try to understand my point. If some polynomial has got the roots 1, 2 and 3, that polynomial can be factored as x minus 1, x minus 2, x minus 3. Similarly, I know all the roots of this equation. So what can I say? This can be factored as x minus 1, x minus alpha square x minus alpha to the power n minus 1. Did you get my point? Why this? How can I write this line? So you divide by x minus 1 here. So x to the power n minus 1 by x minus 1 equals to x minus alpha square x minus alpha to the power n minus 1. So this is nothing but you have to divide this by x minus 1. You have to divide this by x minus 1. So you can do the long-term division or synthetic division. Otherwise, you see, this is the formula for GP, right? What is the formula for GP? For finding the sum, a r to the power n minus 1 by r minus 1. So a here is 1, r here is x. So a r to the power n minus 1 by r minus 1. So this is the formula for the sum of the GP. That means what exactly is the GP? GP is this 1 plus x, because you are implementing r. So this is your a into r square and dot up to x to the power n minus 1, because that will only make here n term. So this information gives you that I have some GP whose sum is this. So a is 1, r is x and number of terms is n. So I'll start with a, I'll multiply x, and I'll go up to n minus 1. Why? Because the number of terms is n. So did you understand the left hand side? We are almost done. You see what I wanted, something like this: 1 minus alpha square dot 1 minus alpha to the power n minus 1. And what is this? X minus alpha square dot x to the power x minus alpha to the power n minus 1. That means I have to put x equals to 1. Then only I'll get 1 minus alpha square. You see? So putting x equals to 1. Because this is an identity. This is equal to this always, I know, right? So I can put any value of x. So when x equals to 1, so what is this? I will write this here on the left. Okay, let me not write, confuse you all. So what is the left hand side? I am putting 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 and so on. So this is how much? 1, how many times 1? N times. And what is this? This is nothing but 1 minus alpha square dot 1 minus alpha to the power n minus 1. So this completes the proof. Okay. So the question is, if alpha be an imaginary root of the equation x to the power 7 minus 1 equals to 0, you have to find an equation whose roots are alpha plus alpha to the power 6, alpha square plus alpha to the power 5, and alpha cube plus alpha to the power 4. Remember, you will get a cubic equation. That means you have to find an equation whose roots are this 3. That means you will get a cubic equation. You have to determine a cubic equation whose roots are this, this, and this. So, if you do it manually, it will take a lot of time. So, we will use some concept. Again, the same concept, because alpha is an imaginary root of this. All the roots are given by all those things. I'll write again. So, solution. Since alpha is an imaginary root of x to the power 7 minus 1 equals to 0, and 7 is a prime number. So that is the reason they have given a prime. 7 is a prime number. So what can I say? Therefore, all the roots, same thing, using the same theorem, roots of x to the power 7 minus 1 equals to 0 are 1 alpha, alpha square, alpha cube, alpha to the power 4, alpha to the power 5, alpha to the power 6. I know this by the theorem. So therefore x to the power 7 minus 1 can be factorized again like this: x minus 1, x minus alpha. I will not write all of them. X minus alpha to the power 6. Again the same logic. I will divide by x minus 1. So x minus alpha square dot x minus alpha to the power 6. After dividing, what will I get? This is again a GP, you know. So I'll write in the decreasing power this time. So this is a GP whose first term is 1. The last term is x to the power 6. So x to the power 6 plus x to the power 5, x to the power 4, x to the power 3, x to the power 2, x to the power 1. And then you see there are 7 terms: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Having the common ratio x, number of terms 7, first term 1. This is the formula for GP, and this on the right I have. So on the right I'll arrange things. How will I arrange? I'll keep this and this together. I'll keep alpha square and alpha cube, alpha to the power 4, alpha to the power 5 together, and I'll keep these two also together. X minus alpha cube into x minus alpha to the power. So I'm keeping these two together, this two together, this two together, because I want something like this. So this is up to here is very trivial. Using the same theorem again and again. Alpha is an imaginary root. So all the roots of this equation are given like this, because 7 is a prime number. I'm factorizing this like this, dividing by x minus 1. This is a GP, and like this. So copy the left hand side as it is. So x to the power 6 plus x to the power 5 plus x to the power 4, x to the power 3, 2, 1 equals to. So multiply. You multiply these pairs. You multiply this with this, this with this, and this with this. Okay, so let's multiply. If I multiply them, what will I get here? X square. So x into x, x square. Then minus alpha x minus alpha to the power 6x. That means minus alpha plus alpha to the power 6x and plus alpha to the power 7. And what is alpha to the power 7? Anybody who can tell me? What is alpha to the power 7? Yes, because alpha is the imaginary root of this equation. If you put alpha here, so alpha to the power 7 minus 1 equals to 0. So alpha to the power 7 is 1. So after multiplying, what I am getting? Alpha into alpha to the power 6, which is alpha to the power 7. But I know that alpha to the power 7 is 1. So this is 1. So similarly, multiply this 2. So x square minus alpha square x minus, so minus I'm taking common, alpha to the power 5x. Again alpha square into alpha to the power 5 is alpha to the power 7, which is again 1. And what I have here is x square minus alpha cube plus alpha to the power 4x plus alpha to the power 7 equals to this. So if you want to ask anything up to here, you ask. So the next step, what I'll do is, you see I'm almost approaching, right? You see I have got something like this, and like this. So what I'll do, I want to eliminate x from here, and from here, because each term, I want this term to be free of x. So I will divide both sides by x cube. How will that help? So if I dividing both sides by x cube means dividing this by x, by x, by x. Because these three are in multiplication. So dividing by x cube means dividing each one of them by x, and that will remove this term x from here. So dividing by x cube we get. So what we'll get if I divide by x cube? Let's see. So we'll divide the left hand side also by x cube. So try to recall what was the left hand side. So x to the power 6. So if I divide by x cube, it will become x cube. X to the power 5 by x cube is this. X to the power 4 by x cube is this. X to the power 3 by x to the power 3. That is 1. Then 1 by x plus 1 by x square. I hope that is the thing. 1, 2. How many terms are there? 6 terms, no? So this will also be there. Yeah. 1 by x cube. So this is the left hand side after dividing, and right hand side is, the first one was x square. So it is x square, that means x square by x. You try to understand my point. What I am doing here, I am dividing by x cube. That means I am dividing every term by x. So divide this by x, what will I remain with? X minus alpha plus alpha to the power 6, this x gets vanishes, plus 1 was there, so 1 by x. Similarly here, x minus alpha square plus alpha to the power 5 plus 1 by x. Similarly here, the last one, I'll rearrange them a bit. So x cube plus 1 by x cube. So taking these two together, taking these two together, taking these two together, and then 1. So taking this together, taking this together, taking this together, and 1 equals to, again writing these two together, that means x plus 1 by x together minus alpha plus alpha to the power 6. X plus 1 by x together minus alpha square plus alpha to the power 5. And into the last one, writing these two together. Alpha cube plus alpha to the power 5. Okay, now you can see I am very close to get a cubic whose roots are this. If I bring here t, so t minus this, t minus this, t minus this. So let's put t here. So let t is equals to, or let x plus 1 by x equals to t. So what is the value of x square plus 1 by x square? So if I square both sides, so I'll get a square plus b square plus 2ab. That means I'll get t square minus 2. The value of this is t square minus 2. And if I cube both sides, so a cube plus b cube plus 3ab, so 3 into x into 1 by x is 3, in bracket a plus b, that is x plus 1 by x, that is nothing but t, equals to t cube. So what is the value I am getting for x cube plus 1 by x cube? It is t cube minus 3t. So I have changed the variable. So what will I get? On the left I have this, which can be written like this, t cube minus 3t. I have this, which can be written as t square minus 2. I have this, which is t plus 1. And on the right, what I have, it is reduced to t minus alpha plus alpha to the power 6, t minus alpha square plus alpha to the power 5, t minus alpha cube plus alpha to the power 4. Or what is the left hand side? T cube plus t square minus 2t minus 1. That is the left hand side. Can be written like this: t minus alpha plus alpha to the power 6, t minus alpha square plus alpha to the power 5, and t minus alpha cube plus alpha to the power 4. And this is a very interesting line. You see how? Where have we reached? This polynomial can be expressed as t minus this, t minus this, t minus this. This means this, and this are the roots of this polynomial. Suppose this is t minus 1, t minus 2, t minus 3. This means that 1, 2, 3 are the roots of this polynomial. That means this are the roots of this polynomial, because this polynomial can be factored in like this. So therefore, what is the required cubic whose roots are alpha plus alpha to the power 6, alpha square plus alpha to the power 5, and alpha cube plus alpha to the power 4 is this: t cube plus t square minus 2t minus 1 equals to 0. Did you understand my point? You can also write in terms of x cube plus x square minus 2x minus 1 equals to 0. You know, by change of variable, this will not change anything, right?